Hey y'all, I hope you're all having a great start to your week. If all goes well, this will be posted on Monday, April 7th, if I don't have any technical difficulties. So hopefully you will all be seeing this then. This video is going to be my favorite childhood reads. So kind of going through books that got me into reading and age appropriate books also, in case people have siblings that want to read but you're like, you can't read what I read, that kind of thing. So I still have not figured out how to upload videos less than 6 minutes at a time. So hopefully I can do elementary in a bit, 6 minutes, middle school, and that kind of, break it up like that. So when I do transitions, it'll be between those different sections is what I'm going to shoot for. But whenever we get to the high school section, that will probably be 2 sections because it was pretty long. So these are not all the books that I read in those time periods. They're just kind of my favorites and the ones I vividly remember checking out at the library at school all the time. So yeah, again, thank you all for your support so far. And I know I don't have any professional equipment, so I appreciate all the support that I've gotten so far, just doing this in general. Without further ado, we're gonna get started with elementary. Okay, with elementary books, y'all should know the drill by now if you've seen any of my videos. I'll put pictures right here. I do have my notes because my ADHD brain needs something to tell me what order I'm going in or I'm going to go off track. So, we're going to start with A to Z Mysteries. I'm not going to put pictures of all 26 of them because that would be a lot. So, just the first one for each series is going to go right here. So the first one, for example, was Absent Author, hence A to Z Mystery. So, it's basically 3 children detectives that solve their own mysteries, which I used to think was so freaking cool. They weren't, I don't know how many pages they were, but they weren't very long, and so it was quick reads for me, and I don't know if I ended up reading all of them or not. I feel like that would be something fun to try to do, is reread those books now. Obviously, not for not really for my reading goals or anything to get quick reads, but just it'd be interesting to read what I used to read just for remembering, I guess, or nostalgia, that kind of thing. So next one is Magic Treehouse. I loved these books. So basically it had Jack and Annie, which were siblings, and they had a treehouse that was magic, of course, and it would send them on different adventures and missions throughout the world, throughout time, they were with dinosaurs in one book. I remember, I think that was the first book. Yeah, Dinosaurs Before Dark was the first book that came out, and that was in 92. So, way before I was even born. I was born in 99, so I didn't read those until 2006, maybe 2007, but loved them. My all-time favorite books from my childhood. I don't know why I didn't do these last and do best for last, but Junie B. Jones. This child was absolutely crazy, and I loved her. Her adventures basically in kindergarten and first grade, and I wrote down my specific favorites, which I will post multiples of this series right here because for some reason these specific books stick out to me. And that was the first one, which was The Stupid Smelly Bus. The next one was Junie B. Jones and Her Big Fat Mouth. Yucky Blucky Fruitcake, Not a Crook, First Grader at Last, which is when she kind of, went from kindergarten to first grade. And then I feel like anyone who read Junie B. Jones read this one, and it was Jingle Bells, Batman's Bells, P.S. So Does May, which was the girl in her class that she didn't like. So yeah, those were hilarious to me. Okay, sorry y'all, my mom called, and even though my phone's on Do Not Disturb while I film, she's one of my favorites, so her calls still come through. Yeah, she's going to bed, so I have to say goodnight, and I love her. So, moving on with the last 2 series for elementary, though. A series of unfortunate events. So, also, anyone who knows me knows that I absolutely love the number 13, And that's the original reason I read this series, because there was 13 books in it. So like my birthday's on the 13th. I was born on my papa's birthday, so his birthday was the 13th. I was number 13 in all sports. Like, it just, the number stuck, okay? It just did. But basically, their parents died. They were orphans. I think they made a TV show on Netflix about this too, but I tried to watch it and it sucked, at least in my opinion, so I didn't finish it. But basically, the person that they're with wants their inheritance, and so basically tries to have them killed in these crazy ways. I don't remember all of them. Again, it'd be interesting to reread some of these things, but yeah, I just remember that was absolutely crazy. And the last one is Judy Moody. I don't remember all of it as well, except for it was very real. So, like, unlike Magic Tree House, where they're going on adventures and everything, and of course, traveling through time, like, Judy Moody was, like, learning how to deal with real life stuff, like family changes, school, friends, like, stuff like that. And, like, I loved it, and I will be having my kids read it one day. Have, like, a book for, like, when you're struggling with this, you're gonna read this book kind of situation. So yes, that's all for elementary. We're gonna move on to middle school books now. So with middle school, okay, this first one is by far my absolute favorite of all of the middle school ones. And the reason I'm doing it first and not last is because I would not be the reader I am today without this series. And I may not do the whole 6 minutes on middle school thing because of how much I could talk about this series, but I'll try to keep it short. So in 6th grade, I had a ELA teacher or reading teacher, whatever. She taught something where she read to us, and we did grammar, that kind of thing. I don't even think we did grammar. I think it was just reading. But she started, beginning of the year, she started Hunger Games with us because the movie was supposed to come out that year. And I absolutely hated it at first, hated the idea of it. But we did like a chapter a day, and I remember through like the first section, because they're all broken up into like 9 chapters, or 3 sections of 9 chapters. But I remember after the first section, she was like, okay, we're gonna take a break, and then we'll continue like in a week. We want to reflect, like that kind of thing. I was like, no, I don't want to wait. And so I went home and I begged my mom to buy me the first book, and she did. And I finished it before we started back. I finished the whole book within that next week. I told my teacher about it. She was like, okay, don't spoil anything with the rest of the class. I was like, okay, that's fine, but can I go ahead and read the next 2? And she was like, yes, as long as you don't spoil anything. So I went home again the next day, told my mom, and y'all, my mom is so supportive of me reading and my love for books. I literally love her. Like, when I went home and I told her I needed the next 2 to finish the series, no questions asked, took me to Walmart, found them, bought them, I read them. I actually finished both of them that weekend. I finished Catching Fire in one day on a Saturday, and I finished Mockingjay on a Sunday. And my mom was like mind blown. She was like, you've never read like that before. And I was like, I don't know. I loved them. I don't know what it was at that time in my life that I loved them so much, but I did. And now I just love them even more with the 2 that have come out since then. And I could go on forever. So moving on, because I'm definitely gonna have to break up middle school in 2 parts. I didn't think I would have to, but I am gonna have to. But the next one, I don't think I need to do much explaining, but Harry Potter. Oh yes, Coda is our special guest of the night. And his little sweatshirt. His little sweatshirt says, I still live with my parents. I think that's adorable. But anyways, Harry Potter. The next one, I don't think I have to say much for it either. Percy Jackson. Again, I loved both of these, but I read them after Hunger Games, and so they didn't have the, like, emotional impact like Hunger Games did for me. I don't know what it was about Hunger Games, but it put all this in emotion for me. And then this one, I don't think I have to say anything about it either, but Twilight. Another thing about my mom, she watched the first movie with me when it came out, and then after that, when all the others came out, she made sure we went to midnight premieres of them, because I loved the books. she loved the first movie, and so we just kind of made it a thing. We went to all of them together. And then the ones that are not so well known, Matched by Ali Condi. Basically, the society controls every little thing they do, including who they end up with, like who you're matched with, which is actually the name of the first book. She ends up being matched to someone that she's not supposed to be matched to, and yeah. I don't remember all the rest of it. I actually reread it about 2 years ago, but I don't remember all of it. But I remember at that age being obsessed with it. The next two are actually by the same author, and I've talked about the first one before because it's a trilogy I always go to when I'm in a slump, and it's the Trial trilogy. I always, if I'm in a reading slump of any kind, I will read this trilogy. Don't know why, but it gets me out of it because it's very quick reads. But basically, it's a switched at birth situation, but she's actually, I'm gonna say magical, supernatural kind of thing. And she has to go back to her family and find out that she's royalty and try to save them without knowing who she was her whole life, because she was raised by normal people. And then the other one by Amanda Hawking was the Water Song series, which is basically, I don't remember all of it either, but it was basically like two sisters and some drama with sirens, you know, like the evil mermaid creatures kind of things. So yeah, that's all for middle school. Again, I could make an entire video about Hunger Games, and I probably will one day, but that day is not today. So, moving on to high school books. Okay, I don't think high school books is going to have to be as long as I thought it was going to be. But the first one I've talked about before because I already reread it this year. It was Beautiful Disaster by Jamie McGuire. They're out of college together. She kind of has a rough background that he doesn't know about. She's just trying to get an education. He's an underground fighter. Yeah. I've talked about it before. I love it. I've posted my review on Instagram. It's 5 stars every time I read it. It's honestly one of my favorite books I've ever read. I probably shouldn't have read it at the age that I did read it, but it's okay. Yeah, I loved it. I talk about that book all the time. Like, I remember there was a trend one time on TikTok, and this is probably still on my TikTok somewhere, but it was like, if your house was on fire and you could only save one book, which one would it be? And that's the one. Sorry, I just got a text. I'll look at it in a second. Next is Divergent. Kind of the same vibes as Hunger Games, but I was told if I liked Hunger Games to read it. And I loved it. I didn't love it as much, but I did love it. Next is so I want to reread this next series because I had a lot of the books at one point, and then for some reason I got rid of them, and I don't know why, and I'm literally kicking myself for it right now. So I'm trying to get all of them, and that was the Mortal Instruments and Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare. I'm rereading them soon whenever I get all of them again, because again, I'm mad at myself for getting rid of those at some point. Lastly, anything by John Green, specifically Fault in Our Stars, Looking for Alaska, An Abundance of Catherines, Paper Towns, and Turtles All the Way Down. I could reread those all the time, even now. And then lastly, anything Nicholas Sparks, which again, I'm rereading all of my Nicholas Sparks right now, along with trying to get the ones I don't have. So yeah. Also, I realized I forgot a middle school one, but I read it also in high school, and I reread it last year, and that was the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. I had never read anything James Patterson before, but I thoroughly enjoyed this series, and I still do to this day. It's basically some kids were taken from their families and turned into science experiments. I don't know why, but I loved that series, and it's a perfect intro to like sci-fi and like very little romance. It's like a YA sci-fi is how I would put it. So if you know a kid who wants to get into sci-fi, or someone who wants to get into sci-fi but nothing like Stephen King, because I for one don't like Stephen King. That's just my reading preference, but there's a good place to start. Honestly, any James Patterson, I haven't read any others, but I've heard they're good. So there is another section to the high school books though. I'm not going to go into details, but these are classics that I will probably make another video about at some point, but I'm just going to say the titles and probably put pictures somewhere. But some of these we were forced to read in certain classes, and I just ended up enjoying them. Others I read on my own and ended up enjoying them. So these are just some classics that if you're looking to get into classics, I can't speak. These are some good ones to start with. So To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, probably my favorite on this whole entire list. Love it. I have 2 copies of it actually. I have one that's like from high school that has some notes in it, and then one that I think either last year or the year before that I went through and annotated it as like older, because I was older, I went through and reread it and annotated it differently than I did in high school. Then Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Animal Farm and 1984 by George Orwell, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I hated this when I read it in school. Absolutely hated it. I love it now. Same with this one, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I don't speak French, but I hated both of those in school. Absolutely hated them. Worst months of my life having to read those in high school. I love them now. I do. I have copies of both of them. I love them. Romeo and Juliet. I know that's so cliche, but I, for one, love reading through it. I do. And I saw someone I don't know who it was, but someone made like a modern version of it where it wasn't like old English talk. It was very modernized, and it was honestly really funny to read. Lastly is Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. My mom had a copy of it, and I read it, and I loved it. I now have her copy. Lastly is A Tale of Two Cities and Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I have copies of both of those. I love them. So that's all for those. I'm getting close to my 6-minute mark, so I'm just going to go ahead and do another transition into my little closeout. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hopefully I can get it all edited and updated and uploaded on Monday. That is the goal. My next video, I'm going to experiment, and I actually got this idea from another book creator that I like, which is Jolie Reads, which I'll put a screenshot of her Instagram and YouTube right here. I've followed her for a while on TikTok and a while on YouTube and Instagram, and she does, I'm not trying to like steal what she's doing, but I love when she does like the read with me's, where she's like just playing like nature sounds and literally just sits and reads, because I love like having those, and it like keeps me accountable to read my own books during that time. And so I thought it would be cool if I just try it and see if I like it. And so hopefully on Friday I'll have it uploaded, but just like a 20-minute read with me. And I hope it's going to, I want to try and do those if I like it, and hopefully it'll keep me accountable to actually reading my TBR that I set for myself, which if you didn't see my video about it, I do have my April TBR picked for, at least for my physical books, so you should go check that out. So yeah, that is it for this video. I hope everyone has a great week, and yeah, bye.